Shouldn't have done that. I had it on the wrong screen when we started. Hey, everybody. Morgan Wright, CEO and founder of the National Center for Open and Unsolved Cases. Almost college football season. Go Irish. God's team. You need to be behind them. Hey, the purpose of this, as promised, I said we are ready to start recruiting volunteers for two positions, and I'm going to show you these two positions. The two positions are volunteer case manager and volunteer case analysts. Now, they come with separate responsibilities. Some come with a higher level of scrutiny because we are going to be interacting with law enforcement. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through where you can find it because I made it very easy. I put it on the front page of the website. I will put it out into the groups. I will start letting everybody know, hey, and I'll put an email out letting everybody know we are ready to start registering. But I wanted to make sure everybody knew what the positions were and what's expected of each position. And when I say we're volunteers, folks, everybody's a volunteer right now. Me, anybody associated with this. So we are right there with you. Everybody's doing a lot of work to get this rolling. So let me bring up now the website. I'm going to show you the website, then I'm going to take you to the registration form and show you not only the two positions, but the three groups that we've aligned with and behind it. I'm going to give you the philosophy about why we did that. So all you have to do is go to the website, which you guys have seen before, right? We have a brand new, beautiful website working on it. Amy Neodashek, common spelling, AIMEE, with Anchor Design. Known her for 10 years. She's putting together a kick-ass website, a killer one. But right now, there's our placeholder. What you do is you just go to it, you scroll down, and guess what? Down there, volunteer positions now open. Volunteer case manager, case analyst. Our initial training. And I'm going to discuss this in a minute, but our initial training starts Monday, September 25th, so a week from this Monday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a 2-hour block. Part 2 is Friday, September 29th from 3 to 5 p.m. This is where we start getting into the nuts and bolts. We do the training from top to bottom, but all you have to do to find out more is just simply do this. Guess what? See that little button there? Click Find Out More. And guess what you're going to see? You're going to see there's the registration form. Now, it says volunteer position assignments. There's my buddy Brian. Yay. Brian gave me a clap. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it, brother. Brian's amazing. Amazing guy. So, but the purpose, here's what we're doing. 2 volunteer type of assignments, but 3 groups. So what you do is, first of all, you decide, what do I want to be? Then once you decide what you want to be, then you decide which group do I want to help support. So here's what we've done. First thing we've done is volunteer case manager. I'm going to be very specific about this. Some of you might think I'm being a little onerous, but this volunteer case manager is going to be basically a senior position. This one requires vetting personally by me and an interview by me because you're going to be leading. I don't want to say managing because I don't believe in managing. I believe in leading, right? You're going to lead a group of 10 analysts, up to 10 analysts, and you're going to be responsible. You can recruit these volunteer case analysts. If you know some people, great. I mean, I'm going to be getting a lot of people and I'm going to be bringing them into the groups as well and assigning them based upon their preferences. So if there's something you like to do and you've got people that are aligned with you, for example, Kenny Gerals with the Aware Foundation, probably will be focusing a lot on missing, people, unidentified, unclaimed. So if Kenny's got 5 or 6 people he knows that he wants to work with, great. We'll fill it out with up to 4. And if we get more than 10, then we'll start creating a second case manager position for that. Called span of control. You can't really lead more than 10 people at a time and do it effectively, right? But here's what the case manager does. You lead a group of 10 volunteer case analysts, and you can recruit. You're responsible for creating the assigned cases. So what's going to happen is me, along with you, the volunteer case managers, we're going to get together and we're going to decide on a regular basis what cases we're going to go after. Now, some of these are going to be easy because FBI top 10, when we start talking about fugitives, et cetera, I'll get into the groups in a minute and it'll make more sense. But we're going to decide what cases we want to go to. I have a goal of having 1,000 cases in this system before we go live at the end of October. So the law enforcement portal goes live September 4th. We do our initial pilot training in Chesterfield on September 12th, where we get law enforcement agencies involved. But in addition to the law enforcement agencies, we're going to have our volunteer case managers and analysts, and we're going to be identifying and aligning with these groups so that we can get additional things entered into there. So here's case manager. You're responsible for creating the assigned cases. The reason I say that is you will have an account in the Holmes platform. Case analysts won't. There's two reasons. Number one, need to keep minimum number of fingers in the pie. Number two, it's a cost issue. Right now, we're a volunteer organization. We've gotten a donation already from a good friend of mine. That's really done a lot to help us keep this going right and provide for the infrastructure. But the other thing too is I want to minimize the number of people that are touching leads. Volunteer case managers and me are the only people that will see leads that come in. So we want to keep uh, basically establish credibility in the things that are being said. It's not that we don't trust case analysts, but the more people that have access to leads, the more unintentional things that have. So we're going to restrict just on leads, but the case analysts are going to do a very important job. But you case managers, what you will do is that you will be responsible for taking the data from them, which it'll be structured. So you don't have to worry about how do I do this? Where does it go? Everything's going to be structured. It's going to be very simple: cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste. You're also going to look at make sure that it's the cases it's rich enough that it's complete, that we've got the case synopsis, the locations, links of interest like news stories, whatever things might be out there, and available images. You're going to do QA, quality assurance, to make sure that we've got, I don't want a link in there talking about the wrong case, right? So that means, does it mean clicking on each link? Yeah. It's going to mean clicking on each link. Whatever you click on, I click on. And if there's 10 case managers out there, I'm checking what all 10 case managers are doing. So this is about quality. We've got to make sure we got a quality product going out the door. It's about attention to detail, because guess what? Justice matters. We've got to make sure we get this right and we get the right leads in so that we can solve cases. That's the whole goal about this, right? So you perform QA on all the data. You submit the finalized cases to me for review, because you'll see in the platform, there's a feature that's submit for review. I'll do the final QA on it. I'll look at it. And then guess what? We'll publish. So, but this position, if you put in for volunteer case manager, it does require vetting by me and an interview by me. And I'm going to tell you right now, not everybody's going to get to be a case manager. You're going to have a certain set of skills, not the Liam Neeson, I've got a certain set of skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. Not that kind of set of skills, but I'm looking to make sure that you've got leadership skills, that you've got the ability to, and have the time and the capacity to lead up to 10 people in this. So there's some things that go into it. It's very important. Don't take it wrong if you don't get selected. You might get selected later, but whoever is a case manager and leads this is such an important position. We've got to put a lot of emphasis behind this to make sure that you are ready for it, that I do the proper job of making sure you're ready for the position, and that you can lead these people. Now, what does a volunteer case analyst do? Performs open source research and analysis on assigned cases. I put this towards the bottom. I might move it to the top. This is not an investigative position. You are not going out there with your notebook, knocking on doors and trying to collect information. You are a keyboard warrior. Whatever is available on the internet, that is your remit. That is what you're going to do. This is not about dialing up the family and asking for additional information. That's the job for law enforcement. We're not here to do law enforcement's job. We're here to help law enforcement do their job by giving them the tools, the capabilities to reduce time, cost, and complexity in these investigations. So what a case analyst does too is you're going to be doing open source research. We're going to provide training on that. Not only that, but I've got people. One of the people I know that I'm going to talk into this, he doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to. A friend of mine was the director of science and technology for CIA. They went after high value targets. They understand patterns of life, patterns of activity. So you're going to get training from real world experts on this kind of stuff. You're going to be given new skills. Hey, and if you can take these skills and parlay them into a job somewhere else, yeah, Linda, you can message me, or you just put it right in there, because I'll see it and I can answer it live if you want me to. So just let me know. I don't know if anybody else can see it. So if it's sensitive, you can DM me. But if you just want to put it in there, I'll see it pop up here on the broadcast. But your job is to exploitation. It is to go out and search and scour the internet, the bowels of the internet, for all information leading to this. It could be Reddit groups. It could be Facebook groups that are dedicated to victims of crime and missing persons, right? You're looking to gather all sorts of information and put them into, we'll have a structured form to where you're going to put these things in. We need images. We need to know everything about, it's called victimology. And we'll have some of our cold case investigators like Johnny Capicelli and Chris Flanagan talk to you about victimology. When you do a murder investigation, especially cold case, victimology is so important. You want to get to know everything about that victim. Where were they born? Where did they grow up? Where did they live? What are their likes? What kind of skills do they have? Where did they work? Who's their favorite band? You might not think those things are important, But I will tell you, there's a case out there, and it's the Morgan Harrington case because I work with Dan and Gil Harrington on this. Morgan Harrington went to a Metallica concert. She disappeared from a Metallica concert. So is it important to know that she likes Metallica concerts or that she likes things at UVA? Yeah, very important because guess what? That's eventually how the suspect was caught. There's a whole nother story. I work with the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, Virginia State Police on this. But it is very important that we know these kind of things. If you can't find it on the internet, guess what, guys? Or if you can't find it in the public domain, we can't use it. And here's why: you can't say, well, somebody told me so and so this, and I've got this secret information. Guys, it doesn't work because guess what? If it's secret and only you know it or two people know it, there's 10,000 people out there who don't know it, and there's no way they can connect to the case based on a secret. So we have to have information. And if you guys saw the session I did on the Cleveland kidnappings, you'll understand the value of getting that information out there and making connections on what is known. And this whole role is the heart and soul of what we do. So if you're thinking, well, is it that important of a job? I'm telling you right now, it is. Analysts will be the backbone of this, both on the law enforcement side and the open unsolved side. Analysts will be the key piece of this. So again, but it's not an investigative position. It is an research and analytical role. There will be no contact unless specifically authorized by us. Now there may be a time to where we say, hey, look, we need to talk to the family because we need more about victimology. That'll be up to me to arrange and the volunteer case manager to arrange to make sure that this is structured and also in coordination with law enforcement. We don't want law enforcement to think that we're going rogue and we're trying to do their job for them. I know some of you are going to go out there, well, we need to do their job because they're not doing it. Folks, I've been in that position before. I will tell you, before you say those kind of things, you need to understand the caseload many of these detectives carry and many of these agencies are looking at. If you think managing or I should say leading 10 people is tough, wait till you have a stack of 25 cases on your desk and you have to start making decisions about what do I investigate today? What is the highest priority? And you have to prioritize. What we're doing is we're helping them cut through all this clutter and develop leads. The whole goal of this is to collect the dots, connect the dots, solve every case, and we're going to do it by generating leads. So then once you decide what is it you want to do, then what we want to do is align you into a group. Sorry, guys, I have to take another sip. By the way, the beverage tonight is Willowcroft Petite Mansing, a 2019, and I just happened to put it in a cat glass. I'm telling you, it's good. But I can do that because I rode 50 miles today preparing for my big ride next week. So in the heat, you can tell I'm a little sunburned. So Linda asked, do you have to be prior LEO to volunteer? No. In fact, this whole thing has nothing to do. This is about volunteer. These are citizens, Linda, and I'm glad you asked that. That's a great clarification to make. You do not have to be former law enforcement. Now, some of you may come from a law enforcement family. And she, and Linda, I'll leave some of the other details out, but you may come from a law enforcement family. You may just be a fan of true crime and you want to say, I want to get involved. I want to help my community be safer. Guess what, guys? The father of modern policing, Sir Robert Peel, he had his Peelian principles of policing. I think it was created in 1836 or 39, father of the London Met. The police are the public are the police being the only members of society paid to give full time and attention to duties which are otherwise incumbent upon everybody. That means we are all in this game together. We all have a moral responsibility to help make our community safer. And one of the ways, if you choose to do this, is to be a volunteer case manager or volunteer case analyst. And then we're going to divide these assignments into groups. Group one. This is what I call the low-hanging fruit. Fugitive cases are I don't want to say they're easy because if they've been hiding for a long time, but they're easy from a resolution standpoint. In other words, the minute, and Tom Joyce, if you're listening out there, yes, habeas gravis is a legal term. But if you put the habeas gravis on somebody, you grab the body and they're under arrest, that case is over. Once that fugitive is arrested, now that doesn't mean their current criminal case that they were fleeing from, absconding from, or some of you want to check the dictionary, absquatulate, which I used on a defense attorney one time and made him ask me what that meant. And I said, I thought you were the defense attorney. You knew these things. Friend of mine, we played these games, means to flee or elude. But those, once they flee, the FBI, some of my cases, I got what's called unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, unlawful flight to avoid confinement. So UFAP, UFAC warrants. Once that fugitive was caught, then they dismiss the case because they're in custody. But it was a great way to get them involved. I was just having great conversations with my friend from the U.S. Marshal Service. She now runs the Criminal Intelligence Bureau and will be handling a lot of these cold cases. We're going to be working with them on, along with their top 15. So we are going to go after these people. And look, the win always the win is not always capturing them. That's what we hope will happen. But the initial win could be a case to where they've had it out there in the public. And look, it's just sitting there because there's no system that connects it, right? It is they don't they might have a way to distribute flyers like the one I have here, right? I keep showing you this, but this is a perfect example, right? Only 2 locations on this, but when you do a little bit of research, you come up with 12 locations. We've just increased by orders of magnitude, at least 5 by orders of magnitude, the number of potential people out there that might have contact with this. So fugitives from justice will be an easy one. That's one of the reasons why I was a technical advisor for America's Most Wanted for a year and a half, worked with John Walsh, worked with his crew. A lot of people want it. A lot of people like that because it's exciting. You can live vicariously. You're on the hunt. You're trying to find these people who are not trying to be found. And that's where my friend from CIA and some folks I know from DIA and FBI, we're going to get all sorts of real world people, real world experience to be able to train everybody so that you've got real skills to go after this. So on a case by case basis, this could include high profile current fugitive cases. They might be looking for somebody that's involved like in an active shooter. So things like that. I will normally be in contact with U.S. Marshal Service. We're going to be collaborating to say what cases do we want to highlight. There's the standard U.S. Marshals top 15, FBI top 10. Cold cases, we're going to have a list of cold cases 3 years and older to go after. So we're going to be doing that. So if you are of the fugitive mind and you want to go after fugitives, then group 1 is your choice. Group 2, cold case homicides. These will generally be cases that are in the public domain and 3 years or older. Normally things that are listed, 3 years, while they're not exactly cold, they might be actively worked or there might be something ongoing. But for example, in Virginia, there was a law that was passed, I think a year and a half ago, to where the legislature says you have to publish cases, and I think it's 5 years in Virginia, but cases that are 5 years or older. Well, I can tell you, I talked with one of the lieutenant colonels from the Virginia State Police. I hope to meet the new lieutenant colonel in charge of the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, Karen Sterling, Lieutenant Colonel Karen Sterling. But what we want to do is be able to activate these, put these things into a system and a platform that now can generate leads for them. So the win, like on a fugitive case, as well as a cold case, may not be solving the case or finding the fugitive. It may be on a case that has been sitting dormant for 5 or 6 years that we generate 5 leads. That's 5 more leads than they had the day before. So it could be just getting that case another sense of momentum, getting some additional direction to put it in, and that those leads may point them in a direction they didn't know before, which is going to allow us to capture the fugitive, or with the cold case, identify the person. We've got some great folks that are looking to volunteer that are doing a lot of work with genealogy or genetic profiling, and so what we want to do there is. Is if we can help generate leads that helps law enforcement identify a potential suspect where forensic genealogy could come into play, then that's going to be another lead. That's a win. That's a lead that they didn't have before, right? So a lot of this, the metrics isn't always solving the case. The metric initially is, did we generate leads on a case that hasn't had leads in the last year, in the last 2 years? And so a lot of these will come from state police, state Bureau of Investigation, cold case websites. Anything in the public domain, we don't have to have permission to enter those things. I'm working right now with the Kansas Bureau of Investigation because a good friend of mine is an assistant director there, working with them on getting access to their cold cases, in Kansas and also in Virginia. Just so that you guys know, from a fugitive standpoint, we're going to be entering national fugitives, but we're going to be focusing initially on Virginia. Why? Because as we roll this out, the initial citizens that are going to get messaged to, that are going to ask to be a part of this, are going to come to the Virginia area. You're going to say, well, I want to be able to do it here. Here's the problem. It's the store problem, as I said. If you go into a store and the shelves are empty, you're not going to come back. So if we get a bunch of people from California to hop onto this website and create accounts, and there are no cases from California, they're just going to leave. So part of this is a staged rollout. A couple states, 3 states at a time. We get cases in there. Then we go to a region. Then we get to a east side of the U.S., east of the Mississippi, west of the Mississippi. But this is not a big bang. You don't throw a hand grenade, go boom, and then all of the cases are entered in there. This is going to take time. So part of this is creating quick wins, early wins. Fugitive cases are the easy ones. But also, guess what? Missing, unidentified, and unclaimed. These are cases to where we can make a significant impact pretty quickly, right? Because when you find the missing person, I don't want to say it's over because it's never over because you've got recovery issues. But in terms of finding the missing person, that part of the case is over. So now we can, if somebody's been missing for 5 years and you find them 5 states away, great. That's a win for us. Or you got a missing person out there. I'm thinking of Bobby Walker out there. We've talked about his dad went missing, I think, well over 20 years ago, maybe around 2000. It would be nice to be able to generate some new leads so that law enforcement has a direction to go to. That may be another win on a case that's been out there for a long time where there are no leads, and generate some leads and point them in a direction, because this is pulling a thread, right? You give me a thread to pull, I pull one, I pull another, I pull another. Pretty soon it starts unraveling and I can get to the person I'm looking for. So missing, there's 3 types of categories here. There's missing, which if you go to NAMUS, NAMUS.gov, the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, I think it's called. But that includes missing people, which I think there's about 20,000. Unidentified, which I think there's about 25,000. These are bodies that have been recovered. Some of these could be natural disasters. And that's unfortunately what's happened when you look at Tennessee, North Carolina, places where they've had the significant flooding. You will recover bodies, and it might take you a long time to identify who they are, right? So you have the missing, you have the unidentified. And then one of the things that is just sad, and I'd like to help solve a lot of these cases, these are the unclaimed. These are people whose identity is known, but we don't know next of kin. We can't contact any family. And I've looked at some of these pictures, and I'm telling you, they're heart wrenching when you see some of these older folks that have died alone. They've died alone, and and you can't find family, and they're being held by the medical examiner, right? So justice matters. A good friend of mine, Christopher Lockhead, he came up with the tagline. He says, "Why do we do this? Because justice matters." Justice doesn't always mean criminal justice. Justice means doing the right thing for that person, doing the right thing for that unidentified person, doing the right thing for that unclaimed person. What if we can find the person and find family? Maybe they've been looking. Maybe they should have been on the missing side, but we've never been able to connect the dots, but they're unclaimed. Let's find a ways to get this resolved so that when they're buried, they're not alone. I mean, they may have been alone when they died, but let's make sure they're not alone for the rest of eternity, right? So here's what your choices are, right? You decide, do I want to be a volunteer case manager? Do I want to be a volunteer case analyst? Understand, I'm just being very upfront about this. If you want to be a volunteer case manager, you have to talk to me. I specialized in interview and interrogation. I taught out at the National Security Agency. I went through the original serial crime profiling. I've instructed at CIA, FBI, all the spooks down to state and local. You have to go through an interview with me. And one of the things we're going to make sure of is that you've got the right mindset, you've got the right integrity, and you've got the right capabilities to lead a team of 10. This is not for the faint of heart. So if you want to be a case manager, you've got a couple extra hoops to jump through that a volunteer case analyst doesn't. So determine if you want to be a case manager, a case analyst, and then decide, do I want to be a fugitive, or do I want to be a fugitive? No, I'm sorry. Do you want to work on fugitives from justice? Do you want to work on cold case homicides, or do you want to work on the missing, unidentified, and unclaimed? Tia Lorenzen said, and nailed it, Virginia still has a number of Hurricane Camille victims. Folks, we've got to find them if they're missing, identify them if they're unidentified, and link them with family if they're unclaimed, right? Those are 3 of our big things. So great call out on that too. In fact, I got the ability to add that to the broadcast. Look at that. Whoops, let's add that to the broadcast. See that? Thank you, Tia. So this is one of the reasons we do this too, right? We want people, look, closure is a myth. Closure is a fiction. There's no such thing as closure. You can't make me feel the same way I did the day before and then get the bad news and then the day after, right? Closure is a myth. What we want is resolution. What we want is justice. I may not be able to get you closure, but I might be able to help you get justice, right? So again, the easiest way to get there, the easiest way to get to this, folks, is to go to, let me do this here real quick. Pop back to the site. So you go to the site, you scroll down, you say volunteer positions now open, you click find out more. Very simple. All I need is your email. Actually, stand by. Don't register anything yet. I just realized I need to put first name, last name. And I can actually edit that. Watch this. I can actually edit that in real time. Let's see here. So, I will. Let me do this a little bit after, right? So I don't want to bore you guys with doing this. So, but let me add first name, last name. I forgot about that. Oh, that's what happens when you ride 40 miles, right? Oh, so let me go back here. Sorry about that, guys. Let me go back to this. So, open unsolved. Give me 5 minutes. Then you go to the site. If you've already registered, don't worry, I'll figure it out from then. But just give me a timeout, 5 minutes. Let me get your first name, last name, and then email address. And then if you want to volunteer, please hop in. The water's fine. You're going to get a lot of support from us. You're going to get a lot of excellent training, and you're going to be making history. I'm telling you right now, nobody else is doing this. And I've been around. I've worked in 50 different countries on behalf of our government, private sector. I mean, I've been in many countries, and even throughout the United States. I can tell you, there's no single platform that is designed to bring the police and the public together in a common way to help solve crime, find the missing, find fugitives, solve these cases, do all of these things, right? So that's what we're working on. So give me 5 minutes. I will add first name, last name to this, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll. So just go to Open Unsolved right here, openunsolved.org if you want to volunteer, and let me know. And look, if you're of the mind that you say, hey, look, how do I help support this financially? We will have a donate button on that later. But if you're of the mind, reach out to me directly, Morgan at openunsolved.org. If you know me, you know my phone number. It's in the emails and stuff. So drop me a note or message me on Facebook. We'd love to have any help that you guys can give. 100% of everything that comes in right now, and I mean 100%. Everything goes to operations. We're working on our third grant from the government right now. So all of this stuff allows us to do stretch things like put our emailing platform together, Flowdesk, create a learning management system. So we're going to be doing a lot of training. We need a learning management system. We need to continue to support operations. By the way, we're at 85% of capacity on our tenant in Microsoft Azure. We only have 15% left, so we've got to pay for additional capacity. All of these funds that come in, 100% go to operations and building out and extending this capability. So if you can do that, your help would be sincerely appreciated. I would appreciate it. So, but until then, I'll put this, and I'll put the link also as well into some of the groups. Get your friends, neighbors, families, even people you don't know. Say, hey, join up, help me. So, well, Tia, here's a great thing. This is why you say things like that. Former learning management system admin here. We're looking at Moodle, if you know what Moodle is. So that's one of the things. It's open source, but it's very robust. We want to be able to create communities where you can have chat, link together, do stuff. So we'll be talking about all those things. And this is the great thing, folks. This is how we get stuff done, but we can't get it done alone. The only way to get it done is to partner together, to work together, and ensure is that we are helping the police keep our communities safer. We all have an obligation. We have a moral obligation to keep our communities safe. We want to reduce crime. We want to live free from fear. We want to live free from crime, right? And a lot of times, what drives people it's the fear of crime that a lot of people are worried about. They fear going out because they fear being a victim. We've got to eliminate that. We've got to stop that. And the way that you do that, and by the way, too, remember what I've told you about the cost of crime? We do that. We reduce the economic burden. You've got everybody out there. 20% of your tax dollars are going to pay for crime, whether it's funding law enforcement, courts, corrections, things like that. $407 a person each year across the entire United States is the tax that you pay to pay for crime because of crime, right? So we want to reduce crime. We want to find the missing people. We want to reduce homicides. We want to find by the way, average fugitive from justice when they're on the run commits 5, 10, 15 additional crimes. How many of those crimes involve murder? A significant number. Not a majority, right? Not a whole, but enough that it makes a difference that if you just remove one fugitive and keep them from harming one person, killing one person, that pays for our program. We're asking for 10 million from the government per year. I mean, we'll have a very lean staff, 10 people. People don't scale, but technology scales. So we're going to be scaling this from a technology standpoint. And that's what the meeting with Senator Moran's office was about. We've got some additional meetings with government coming up. Great partnership forming right now with the Office of the Attorney General here in Virginia. So a lot of good things are happening. I appreciate your support out there. When we get done with this broadcast, give me 5 minutes to add name. I can't believe I forgot that. First name, last name, and social security number, PIN number, and date of birth. No, I'm just joking. I wouldn't ask that from you. And if you gave that to me, you would not be allowed to be a case manager, maybe an analyst, but not a manager. So I'm going to get that done. And I appreciate all of you guys doing it. We've got quite a few people on today, and I appreciate the comments, everybody from Brian to Linda to Tia. So I appreciate you guys doing that. It's a Saturday night, but we're still working hard every single day. You know why? Because justice matters. So let's get justice for these people. See you guys later.